Broadcasting live from atop the Rocky Mountains, the crossroads of the West. You are listening to the Liberty RoundTable Radio Talk Show.
All right. Happy to have you along, my fellow Americans. Sam Bushman, hard-hitting news the networks refuse to use. It all starts now. Thanks for being alongside for the ride. Our goal to promote God, family, and country, protect life, liberty, and property, and do so on your radio and TV in the traditions of our founding fathers. Rejecting revolution, unless it's Jesus' revolution, then we're in, because we follow the Prince of Peace. Oh, boy, we're going to have Heath Perkins coming up with our Honest Money Report. Count on that. We've got all kinds of strange stuff. It's Kindness Day today. We'll talk about that. Donald Trump. There's so much good and bad about Donald, it's hard to even know what the heck's going on. The government's out of control. We'll talk about it all on the broadcast today. Let's start with World Kindness Day. Did you know today is World Kindness Day? Did you know that it's been recognized on November 13th every year? And what does it do, you ask? It encourages people to be kind. Yeah, encourages people worldwide to perform random acts of kindness. I dig it. Think we ought to have more of it. The event, celebrating its near 30th anniversary, was initiated by the, quote, World Kindness Movement back in 1998. Now, near 30th, I guess, so 98 would be what? 2008? Or 2028 would be the... All right, so we're not quite there, but we're close. Anyway, I like the event. Think it's a wonderful event. Think we ought to have more of it. They've got suggestions for this day that I think are quite interesting as well, and I support. Multiple suggestions for observing the day include things like complimenting someone, holding open doors. Wow. Whoa, can you do that these days? Can you if you're a man, can you hold a door open for a woman nowadays, or are you just a bigot thug hater for doing that? Well, everybody that I know, I mean, I talk to women everywhere, all over the country, and every one of them says, I kind of like it when someone holds the door open for me. By the way, I'm a guy, and I like it when someone holds the door open for me, too, especially if my hands are full, or especially if, there's several of us in a row, and it's like, it's sure easier than trying to handle the door if somebody just steps back and holds the door, and everybody else just rolls in. It's just really nice. It's kind. Yeah, so compliment someone, hold open doors. They say donating items like toys and clothes and stuff to shelters, contributing toiletries and other needful supplies to homeless shelters, women's shelters, giving books to libraries, donating to charity. I mean, there's so many things you can do to be kind. It's not even funny. Kindness, I don't think there's a list that you can produce. I mean, I appreciate some of the suggestions, but I don't think there's really a list to being kind. What about just giving someone a smile? Just smiling at them. What about when you walk up to the cashier and you can tell they've had a hard day and they're flustered and they don't say anything to you? What do you normally do? You think, oh my gosh, they're a grumpy sucker. Okay? But what if you just smile at them and just say, hey, hope your day goes better? Or what if, we can all be kind. And I think it's really important. In fact, President Trump's wife, Melania, created the Be Best campaign. Right? And that's all designed to help children not get bullied and not get beat up and all that kind of stuff, right? Anyway, I think it's a great, great initiative by Melania. Now, the problem is everybody just beats up Melania and says, oh, your husband's the biggest unkind guy there is, so what you do doesn't have any sway. And I disagree with that. I think it actually has tremendous sway. Hopefully, if anybody can help Donald be kind, it would be her, right? Charlie Kirk was well known for being kind, right? People would kind of get in his face and be crazy and be like, hold on, prove me wrong. He'd have his bold statement, but at the same time, he'd be willing to step back and listen, right? Anyway, very, very interesting indeed. I want to hold this Kindness Day up and say, I joked at the start of the show before we got on the air with some of my producers and said, hey, we're going to be super kind to you today. And the person said, shouldn't you be kind to me every day? Boy, is she spot on right. Yes, of course. That was the kind of joke leading into what we're talking about today. I appreciate a Kindness Day, and I support one because we certainly need reminders, right? But I think every day ought to be a Kindness Day. I think every day ought to be a Christmas Day or a Thanksgiving Day or a 4th of July Day or I can keep going, right? A Valentine's Day, an Easter Sunday. We can keep going with all these wonderful days that we can celebrate and focus on. And, what about Mom's Day? Oh, Mother's Day? Yeah. How about Father's Day? How about Parents' Day? How about Take Your Kid to Work Day? We ought to have more of those, right? I'm just saying. Anyway, I don't know if you know, but there's a big trend going on Twitter, it's going on the internet, I guess. I don't know where it's being published because I don't participate in this kind of stuff. But the USA Today tech section brought this to my attention, and I thought just on Kindness Day we ought to talk about this in contrast. Internet reacts to what's called the flip camera TikTok trend. Some are now calling it bullying, secretism. Here's what happens. They record videos and they share them online with commenters making fun of the unsuspecting and unaware targets. I guess it's on TikTok. And it's left some users sad and in tears as they get mocked and ridiculed and made fun of. They say the videos are a form of cruel bullying. The social media videos, I guess they say they're part of a, quote, flip camera trend where a group of people, usually teenagers, dance past classmates or strangers in public places, and then they record them dancing, kind of catch them in the act. I don't know if you call it candid camera of days of old or what, but they flip the phone backwards so people don't really realize they're being recorded, right? Then they share the videos online for everybody to see. They're completely unaware of what's transpiring. 9 times out of 10, the person looks like the sweetest, most kind, humble, sweetest human being. You could tell they were just trying to be nice. Quiet, introverted, probably not even part of the game being played. They call them names, they mock them, they make fun of them. And see, the problem is the person doesn't even know that they're online being made fun of oftentimes. All right, the person agrees to hold the camera for them to be kind, not to be bullied. Now, to me, what needs to happen is we need to let people know about this flipping the camera trend and flip the camera back. But I don't know how to respond to this because where do we go with this? This is exactly what Melania Trump has been talking about. This bullying online has got to stop. Her Be Best campaign suggests we should be better than this, right? I couldn't agree more with Melania. In fact, we're going to take this initiative and help Melania with this. Okay? We're going to create a BeBestPress.com website. And on BeBestPress.com, we're going to highlight some of these contrasting things. I love World Kindness Day. I want to support it. I reject this flip camera campaign. It's rude, it's mean, it's unkind, it's unacceptable. All right. Anyway, I thought I'd give you that kind of contrast. It's interesting that I see this story in USA Today about the flip camera being mean to people, bullying people online, the same day that's like, what? World, not even national, World Kindness Day, folks. You're in the middle, my fellow Americans, and you got to choose whether you're going to support Satan, evil, bullying, abuse, hostility, anger, hatred, mistrust, or whether you're going to double down and follow the Prince of Peace, Jesus Christ. Kindness, love, patience, forgiveness, acceptance, respect, dignity, honor, integrity. I mean, shall I keep going or do you get the point? I think the point's really clear. You need to decide what's going to govern your actions. And I get teenagers. Sometimes there's bullies in the crowd. Oftentimes when you find a bully in the crowd, it turns out their life isn't very good. They're bullied by someone else. Therefore, they kind of pass the bullying along. A lot of times that happens. But we need to provide real leadership. Most of you need to learn to stand up and say, look, stop it. I'm not doing that. I'm not participating in that. It reminds me of the 2 teenagers, and they saw this guy working in the field, and his shoes were at the edge of the field, and they snuck up and saw his shoes, and one's like, hey, let's put some bad stuff in his shoes so when he comes back, we can watch and laugh. The other guy's like, no, that's not good. This guy's struggling and working hard. Why don't we put a silver dollar in each of his shoes? So they do. They put a silver dollar in the shoes, and they come back and watch, and they're hidden, and The guy puts on his shoe, puts on the first, man, he finds this coin and looks at it, just starts to cry. Then he starts to put on the other shoe, and oh my goodness, there's a silver dollar in the other shoe as well. And the worker's so happy he kneels down and thanks God out loud for the blessing, the windfall of money that he got, and how grateful he was. He puts on his shoes and goes on his merry way. And no regrets, people. I recommend we all try to live our lives with no regrets. It is World Kindness Day, recognized on the 13th of November every year, almost 30 years, quote, in business. Are you going to help the event? Are you going to find ways to promote kindness everywhere you go, not only today, but every day? I pray the answer is a resounding yes. And I'm Sam Bushman. This is Liberty Roundtable Live.
Why don't we say to the government writ large that they have to spend a little bit less? Anybody ever had less money this year than you had last? Anybody ever having a 1% pay cut? You deal with it. That's what government needs, a 1% pay cut. If you take a 1% pay cut across the board, you have more than enough money to actually pay for the disaster relief. But nobody's going to do that because they're fiscally irresponsible. Who are they? Republicans. Who are they? Democrats. Who are they? Virtually the whole body is careless and reckless with your money. So the money will not be offset by cuts anywhere. The money will be added to the debt, and there will be a day of reckoning. What's the day of reckoning? The day of reckoning may well be the collapse of the stock market. The day of reckoning may be the collapse of the dollar. When it comes, I can't tell you exactly, but I can tell you it has happened repeatedly in history when countries ruin their currency.
Introducing PrepStartsNow.com, your ultimate guide to readiness and peace of mind. We offer practical preparedness tools, training, and education to take your family's household readiness to the next level. Browse the prep shop for essential products, check out our planning guides, and stay informed with our prep blog. Visit PrepStartsNow.com and subscribe to our emails for exclusive offers, new products, and future events. Remember, preparedness begins with PrepStartsNow.com.
Former Sheriff Richard Mack recounts in his book The Proper Role of Law Enforcement how he came to realize while working as a beat cop how wrong the all-too-common orientation of police officers is when they think of their job as being to write tickets and arrest people. Richard Mack tells of his personal transformation from by-the-number cop to Constitution-conscious defender of citizen safety and freedoms. Learn what it really means to serve and protect. Purchase your copy at CSPOA.org. That's CSPOA.org.
All right, back with you live, my fellow Americans. It is indeed Be Kind to Heath Perkins Day. Yes, indeed, ladies and gentlemen. He's with freewatercoinco.com. We need to be kind to Heath every day. Welcome, my friend.
Welcome. Thank you, Sam. I appreciate the comment there. Yeah.
You've got a world, it's called World Kindness Day. It's November the 13th every year. It's been going on for almost 30 years. And they got multiple suggestions for people for the day and all that kind of stuff. And I'm contrasting that with this internet reacts to flip camera TikTok trend where people basically, I guess they have people hold a camera for them and then they think they're doing them a favor, but they flip the camera and kind of mock the person and whatever. And I mean, it's just wrong. And we're actually building a website to follow Melania's campaign, her Be Best campaign, to try to stop bullying. We're doing BeBestPress.com to try to highlight the good news in the world, to try to highlight, we need to do better. And we've all got agency, choices to make, Heath. Do you want to start there for a second?
Yeah, no, we definitely have been seeing a lot of these trends that are going on. I remember the trend that happened a couple of years ago where people would just go punch someone on the street, take a video of it, and thought it was funny, and post these, and they went viral because everyone, just the shock effect. And, kids thought it was great because they were getting all these views and stuff from it. But this kind of degradation in our society is kind of the reason why we need to get back to communities. We've separated ourselves so much with digital media that we don't really even know our neighbors. And I'm guilty of that. There's enough going online and everything else that, knowing everyone on the street, I can't say I do. So I'm in that same kind of boat, but we need to get back to knowing our community and supporting that community, and knowing what their concerns are and their needs, and trying to help fill those. We've stepped too far away from that. So.
I'm really delighted, though, that it's World Kindness Day. I think that everybody ought to highlight this. I don't know how many people are focusing on this like I am, but I really think it's an opportunity to remind people that, you know what, you've got agency, you've got choices. And, if you really want to follow the Savior's admonition, it's love the Lord thy God with all thy heart, might, mind, and strength, and love thy neighbor as thyself. And so I don't think you'd do a flip, TikTok, mock them trend. I don't think you'd do things that would be unkind. I think would be kind all the time. And I really wish we could do things in society that could really advance that cause. How do these hostile, I don't know what you want to call them, agendas or trend or whatever you want to call them, how do all these trends, how come they're all negative? People just do weird things that put people in danger and harm people. And you'd think would be above this. You'd think that would use the internet to somehow promote good. We've got so much time on our hands to do good because of modern technology, Heath.
Yeah. It's sad because people are, their attention spans are so short that these short little videos, what catches your attention is something that shocks you. And half of the reason why these are coming out is because those shorts get fully viewed. It's sad to say that, but our attention span is so short that violence is kind of what holds our attention. It's a very kind of just depressing thought to think that that's what holds our attention these days.
I would say it's a little bit of a societal illness. And I think the cure for that illness is for us to turn to Christ and follow the Prince of Peace. Just saying. All right, let's move on to constitutional currency. Where's gold and silver sitting, sir?
Gold just a minute ago was at $4,203.30.
Whoa, 42.33, ladies and gentlemen, well above the $4,000 mark.
Mm-hmm. And silver was at $53.19, so up there as well.
Well above $50 for an ounce of silver that used to be worth $1. Mm. Well, it still is worth $1, actually. It just costs 50 doll hairs. I mean, Federal Reserve, fake monies to go ahead and compensate. But wow. What's the high for silver that you know in America? Do you know?
I was looking at that. It was, what was it, 54.11?
So we're almost at the high.
Yep. Just shy of it. So
wow.
It's been kind of a roller coaster around here with these new breakouts. I mean, it's 44 years since we've seen silver above the 50 mark.
How long?
44 years. Like it was in the early 80s, you hit 50, and then it pulled back from there. And we saw it go up to 48 or 47 back in 2011, and it shied away from the 50 completely. But now,
it was a fairly flash in the pan in 2011 too, right?
Exactly. It was up and back down real quick.
Whereas now it's been sustained well above $40 for quite a while now.
Yes. Yep. Held above 40 for quite a while, held above 50 for 2 straight weeks, dropped below that as a pullback, usually always happens. Now it's back over the 50 range again. So looks like it's on a consistent path to just make new highs.
All right. Donald Trump. The headlines are all about the Donald all the time. Trump signs bill to reopen government, says the mainstream press. I wrote a couple of headlines myself about this, Heath. You ready for them?
Yeah.
Shutdown's done, but Washington's assault on the Constitution never stopped. What do you say to that?
I agree. Oh man, all of these devils in the details kind of a thing. These bills that are just insanely huge. You have no clue what's in it. Most of these congressmen and senators have their staffers read over it. They don't even completely get through it themselves, or they're using AI to read through it and give them the highlights. Like no one even has a clue what's in these before they go to the floor.
Yeah, maybe the AI should return my headline. Shutdown might be done if you pass this bill, but Washington's assault on the Constitution never stopped. People, all right, here's my next headline. Ready?
Yes.
Shutdown ends, and D.C. goes on writing checks that will bankrupt America.
it's going to put us into hyperinflation. Like if, oh my gosh, like this talk about, Trump giving out $2,000 checks to everyone. Like we already saw what Trump did when he dropped $600 in everyone's lap multiple times. We saw the inflation 18 months later. I mean, if you want more inflation, pray for these checks, which is insanity. We need to start helping each other out, and it is getting tougher out there. I'm getting a lot of people in here that are selling because there's a need, and not necessarily they're just taking, the profit factor. So it's where we see that firsthand, how much the economy is struggling. And yet Utah is the best economy in the nation, or was last time I checked, and Utah County is kind of the top in the state. So, even the best in the nation, we're still seeing the struggle here.
Yeah, we're kind of singing that song, I Feel Good, because we think we're doing good, but it's pretty rough a lot of places in the country, and people are struggling and everything else. But I kind of think, if you're in government, what would be the most kind thing you could do for the nation? What could Congress, if they're coming back to government, coming back to work, they're in session now and everything else, on the World Day of Kindness, what do you think they could do that could make the difference? I mean, abolish the IRS, shut down the education department, shut down the Federal Reserve, there's so many things we could do that could be tremendous,
Very true. I think one of the things they have the capability of doing without a big fight would be, because in 2008 they bought Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac. They own 90% of all the mortgages in the U.S. They use taxpayer dollars to buy those things, giving back all the mortgages. We already bought them. Like those were all owned by us through our government purchase, and yet now it's just an asset on the books of the U.S. government, which is, they use our tax dollars to already buy it. So give everyone back their mortgages. Free the people.
You could at least even say, hey, we're going to shut down the interest on that because since we already bought them, we're not going to charge ourselves interest. Mm-hmm. And then, you could give, people a specific across the board interest benefit. If you don't have a house, you could get some other, equivalent. There could be ways to do a lot of that kind of stuff. I think what he ought to do is he ought to say, I've been told to kill him with kindness, and so I've killed the IRS with kindness. You know what I mean?
Yeah. That would be a good start. But the IRS is only one part of the taxing system in this nation. We've got the value-added tax. The value-added tax, no one has a clue even what that is. Other nations, they'll tell you exactly on the bill what the value-added tax is. Very upfront, our nation hides that as much as possible. So the consumers, the real consumers, the bottom, 15, 20% actually are paying the highest tax because they have to spend most of their check on their daily goods. And because they spend most of their check and they don't know there's a value-added tax involved, they truly are paying a higher interest rate than most even can understand. So
one of the things that we could do is we could take compound interest and turn it into simple interest as well.
There you go. Yeah. Free up the system. But yeah, you've got that. I mean, honestly, if Trump wanted to take the power back and actually print U.S. Treasury notes and stop printing Federal Reserve notes, he's got all this land, from the BLM to national parks to all the mortgages and everything else the United States government owns. He literally could take all of that and use that as what would back printing our own currency and getting out from underneath the Federal Reserve.
Don't give everybody a $2,000 tax, handout. Basically, use the tariffs and go ahead and get rid of the interest, and let's see if we can't pay down our debt and put America on sound footing once again. That'd be the kindest thing the president could do to his constituents, I'm just thinking. All right, Heath Perkins with me, ladies and gentlemen. We're talking about freewatercoinco.com. This is the Honest Money Report. You're watching Liberty Roundtable Live.
How would you like to help this program reach more people and earn silver at the same time? Call or text 801-669-2211 for complete details.
News this hour from Town Hall. I'm Greg Clugston in Washington. The record 43-day federal government shutdown is now over.
Sign this incredible bill and get our country working again. Thank you.
President Trump in the Oval Office last night signing a government funding bill that was passed by the House earlier in the evening. The legislation keeps the government open through the end of January, reverses the firing of federal workers by the Trump administration that began since the start of the shutdown. It also guarantees back pay for furloughed workers. Air travel, of course, was snarled because of the shutdown, and it may take some time to have the airlines get back to normal and unwind all of the earlier problems.
I will never travel again.
But Marilyn Ross had it.
If I travel again, it'll be I will drive.
Airlines have canceled more than 9,000 flights since the FAA ordered a 10% reduction in air traffic to cope with short staffing in control towers, made worse by the government shutdown as air traffic controllers went unpaid.
The air traffic controllers who didn't miss a day, they came for every scheduled shift that they had. They should get a bonus.
Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy echoing President Trump.
It'll be $10,000 depending on how many we have.
There is no timeline for when the flight cuts might ease. I'm Ben Thomas.
Crews have found the body of the coal miner missing since a West Virginia mine flooded last Saturday. That word from that state's governor this morning. Disney's fourth quarter performance was mixed. Its streaming business and theme parks were strong, but its TV networks and some films fell flat. Disney is still trying to work out a new licensing deal with YouTube after its content, including ESPN and ABC, went dark on YouTube TV. More at townhall.com.
My name is Whitney Allen. I am a widow. My husband, Ryan, died. We never thought in a million years we'd have to use life insurance. The unexpected happened. With Ethos, it is so fast and easy. It's 100% online. You can get a quote in seconds, apply in minutes, and get same-day coverage. No medical exams, and you can get up to $3 million worth of coverage through Ethos.
Get your free quote at ethos.com/term. That's ethos.com/term.
Time spent on application may vary. Online health questions required.
Do you have $10,000 or more in credit card debt? Are you barely getting by making minimum payments? With credit card debt reaching all-time highs, National Debt Relief is letting everyone know about great debt relief options now available to help people with overwhelming credit card debt. These options may reduce a large portion of your credit card debt. Get a free debt relief consultation when you call 800-304-3399. 800-304-3399. That's 800-304-3399.
Get ready to be part of something incredible. We're breaking barriers and delivering the powerful stories that mainstream media won't touch. Your support is what fuels our mission to revolutionize journalism and bring you the truth. Join our passionate community of changemakers by donating at libertynewsradio.com today. Together, we're creating the future of news.
Do you know what is great about America? Ask an Immigrant. Ask an Immigrant is a new podcast dedicated to helping Americans, especially our youth, value, appreciate, and be grateful for the freedoms we have here in America. Join host Lydia Wallace-Nuttall as she interviews immigrants from around the world to discover their inspiring personal stories about why they came to America. To learn more about why America is the most prosperous, greatest country in the world, download the Loving Liberty app or go to lovingliberty.net.
Attention collectors and savvy investors. We are excited to announce a momentous evolution in our journey. Introducing Freewater Coin Company, formerly known as Rust Coin and Gift. This rebranding takes us back to the very roots of where it all began, Freewater, Oregon. It's a tribute to the legacy of Al Rust and a celebration of 3 generations of dedication to excellence in the world of coins and precious gifts. Al, Brian, and Jake Rust standing strong through 64 years of service. Discover a world of exceptional service at Freewater Coin Company, your premier destination for genuine, honest money and precious gifts. Under Brian's expert guidance, Freewater Coin Company, building on the legacy of Rust Coin and Gift, continues its tradition of trust and excellence. Visit us at our Provo, Utah location. Explore our treasures online at freewatercoinco.com or call us at 801-377-1574. Freewater Coin Company, where your future is built one honest coin at a time.
All right, back with you live, ladies and gentlemen. Sam Bushman, Heath Pillar on radio and TV. Ladies and gentlemen, this is an interesting headline that I got, and it's from, Heath Perkins. Yep. Sorry, I said Keith because I'm writing Keith as the author of the article that I'm about to tell you. Oh, boy. All right, Heath is with me. Keith is the writer of this article, okay?
No worries.
This is an interesting twist, but here's the headline that I found interesting, and it came from Realtor.com, so it's a very non-controversial source. Rising housing costs, Heath, are the main reason for falling U.S. fertility rates, new study shows. And they go into this big, long article saying, hey, the cost of housing, it's a bombshell report. They say rising housing costs are the primary driver of falling fertility rates in the United States, underscoring the problem with housing pricing and the changing demographics in the United States relating to that. Very, very interesting idea. If housing goes up, people decide they can't have babies. Heath?
I would say there's some correlation there. You have a lot of individuals. I mean, they just said the median first time home buyer age is risen to 40. This isn't something that's going to help any of these stats. And so if the first time home buyer is at 40 now, well, you're kind of, if you're marrying similar to your age for males, a 40-year-old wife, they're kind of getting to that point where it's becoming more dangerous to have a baby. And so, I can see how this can reduce, because there's not the safety of, the man providing the location for the family to dwell and to be safe. I could see that. You have, easy correlation to see on that one.
Now, I find that interesting because it's a very non-controversial. I mean, Realtor.com is who put this article out, and you would think they wouldn't be talking about that. But see, when it starts to affect average things for average Americans, in other words, housing affects the family. When you don't have a place that you feel like is a solid, stable shelter, it's going to be hard for you to want to have children. It's going to be hard for you to say, I had to bring them into this thing. And I think that's the problem. And so while we're struggling with getting housing, D.C. is writing checks that's going to bankrupt the country. This bombshell study, it's got all kinds of Canadian professors and American professors and all these kind of people involved, and they say it's the primary cause of the falling fertility rates, and it relates directly to the changing demographics in America. They say rising housing costs were responsible for 51% of the total U.S. fertility rate decline between the 2000 and 2010, according to the researchers. I just find that an interesting correlation. It's something that when you hear about, you're like, yeah, it's obvious. Makes total sense. It's not something the average person would think about relating to housing, though, right?
Yeah, correct. And, to fuel the housing cost rise, like, we're not letting the free market do what the free market's supposed to do. We're having, I was expecting to see a financial or a housing market collapse back in 2018. And then at the end of 2018 in October, the Fed stepped in and started buying up all the bad assets. So did the repo. So not letting the free market reset, revalue. You don't have any comparables that buyers, agents can compare to that show a realistic, foreclosures, these short sales, any of those numbers that would help bring the price down to help the buyer with a better, overall realistic price point. And so when you take that away and you just start buying up all the bad assets off the books, well, you don't have the market being capable to rebalance itself, and we just continue to go higher and higher with pricing. So it's sad that we have such intervening with the Federal Reserve in the housing industry, and any of the debt industry, like any of the bad debts that are being picked up off the books. But the housing was a big one that they didn't allow that to happen in 2018. And so we keep kicking down the road, what should be happening, which means, the prices went up and they have nothing to pull them back down to reality.
I want to see interest rates on the open market. I want to see supply and demand kind of dictate. The truth is, if you leave interest rates without government manipulation, and people start to save a lot, right?
Yeah.
Money becomes plentiful. Interest rates begin to fall. If people save little, then money's scarce. Interest rates rise. Right now, U.S. savings rates are, they say historically, I would say for the most part, in general, would be non-existent.
Mm-hmm.
Federal deficits require massive borrowing. So the natural unregulated price of borrowed money would be much higher than current Fed manipulated control rates. But hey, if you were to let people save and kind of have, you could change that, right?
Well, yeah, and let's go back to the education system. Like, where in the education system do they teach about the most important thing, which causes half the divorces in this nation? Finances. They don't even really touch on anything about finances or credit or any of those things. So our education system is already failing us and setting us up to have those financial struggles, which then leads to 50% divorce rates. Half the divorce rates are caused because of finances. We could solve, most of the issues in this nation by just teaching young kids how to deal with finances. And the savings is the big part of that. You need an economy and a country that saves instead of spends its way out of problems. It's insane what we do and what we teach.
But I'm not even seeing in school. I mean, you might have one class by the time you go to school for, say, 13 years. If you go to kindergarten and all 12 years of the government school, right? And you kind of go, as far as I know, they might have one class on, what's the word to use for it? On financial responsibility, or one class on whatever, right? I don't think we teach near enough about it. And I think if we kind of taught people, for example, even the difference between compound and simple interest, right?
Yeah. That would prepare us far better for life than most things. Like, honestly, I never had a finance class. I had home ec, which taught you, cooking skills, sewing skills, things like that, which was, junior high. But there was really never a finance class that I took. Nothing that would go over, unless you chose an elective like entrepreneurship or something like that. It wasn't available, or even recommended. But we should recommend 2 major classes. Everyone's going to drive a car, so everyone needs to learn how to change a tire. So you got auto shops, because everyone's going to have that issue. Everyone needs to know how to change a tire, change their oil, a few basic things to keep their main mode of transportation functional. And then everyone needs to know finances. You should have mandatory classes for the things that most affect people in life. It's ridiculous. We don't have anything that even comes close to teaching people about real life.
It's kind of fascinating. When I was a kid in high school and stuff, difficult, long math problems, as math got more complicated, were very difficult to do in Braille. Just for instance, as a blind person. Now they've got a lot of tools that make it a lot easier and stuff like that than they used to. But it was pretty hard in the day, because to write out the long math problems and show your work and everything else would take multiple pages in Braille. It was very difficult. And so they said to me, Sam, you can go on in more complicated math if you want to, or we actually have this business math class you could take. And I ended up taking the business math class. This was back in, it was 50 years ago, almost 45 years ago. All right. Anyway, but my whole point is that when I went into this business math class, they taught you about interest. They taught you how to figure out interest. And so you got simple interest. Let's say I borrow $1,000. Simple interest says, hey, 10% interest, $1,000. The first year you owe $100 interest. Second year you owe $100 interest. Third year, you owe $100 interest. That's if you don't pay any of the principal down. Simple interest. So the total would be, hey, $1,300 you got to pay. You've had 3 years with this loan. You've got to pay the interest. It's simple. There you go. So in other words, you're only paying interest on the original amount borrowed. And as it decreases, it would be less. So if I paid the first year it down to $500, then I'd owe $50 on the $500, right?
Yeah.
Compound interest says, hey, every time interest rolls, we're going to pay on not only the principal, but the interest as well. So first year, $1,000 borrowed. Now it's $1,100 because of the interest. Now I got to pay interest on $1,100. Second year, now I got to pay interest on $1,200. Third, you're now going to pay interest on $1,300. That's the difference between simple and compound interest. And the interesting thing that people need to understand is when you borrow on, say, a car loan or sometimes personal loans and stuff like that, they might be simple interest sometimes. But if you borrow on any real, like on your house and everything else, all of it is compound interest, right?
Yeah, daily.
Think about that. Daily, ladies and gentlemen. That means they're not even giving you a break monthly or anything else. It's daily. And so when you buy a house, say for $200,000, you end up paying $600,000 for it. It's obvious why. So when Donald Trump wants to go ahead and, help out, the best way he could help out is let's change at least from compound to simple interest, shall we? Anyway, I'm always about solutions. We'll get Heath's take in seconds. You're watching Liberty Roundtable Live.
In the medical field, IT security is crucial. Our highly skilled consultants are HIPAA certified and have 20 plus years of experience servicing medical clinics, billing, and supply companies. We offer comprehensive endpoint protection, guarding your computers and servers against all stages of threats. And with our 24/7 monitoring services, you'll never worry about extensive downtime again. Ready to level up your IT support? Call 801-706-6980 today and discover how great IT services can be with managed IT services.
Experience the untamed spirit of the American West with Range Magazine. Each issue is a visual journey featuring award-winning photography and compelling stories that capture the heart of ranching and rural life. Stay informed on the challenges and triumphs of those who live and work on the land. Subscribe today and receive quarterly editions delivered to your doorstep, and join a community that cherishes the enduring legacy of the Western frontier. Visit rangemagazine.com to subscribe.
You know where the solution can be found, Mr. President? In churches, in wedding chapels, in maternity wards across the country and around the world. More babies will mean forward-looking adults, the sort we need to tackle long-term, large-scale problems. American babies in particular are likely going to be wealthier, better educated, and more conservation-minded than children raised in still industrializing countries. As economist Tyler Cowen recently wrote, quote, "By having more children, you're making your nation more populous, thus boosting its capacity to solve climate change. The planet does not need for us to think globally and act locally so much as it needs us to think family and act personally. The solution to so many of our problems, at all times and in all places, is to fall in love, get married, and have some kids."
All right, ladies and gentlemen, Heath Perkins with me, freewatercoinco.com. You've got somebody who can help you understand precious metals. And it's interesting indeed, if you had saved a lot of constitutional currency, gold and silver back in the day, you'd be able to buy a house today pretty easily. When you use the Federal Reserve notes, which everybody believes, oh man, the stock market, it gives you a much better return than gold and silver. By golly, who would want gold and silver? Man, you've been deceived. When you think about a silver eagle silver dollar, it says silver dollar on it, by the way, still 1 ounce of silver. Now you got to spend about $60 to get one of those babies. Woo! When it talks about gold, it used to be a $20 gold piece. Now it takes $4,200 to get one of those bad boys. So if people wonder the reality, isn't that kind of a reality check? The buck stops here, Heath?
Oh yeah. It's insane, the overall loss of the power of the dollar, the purchasing power the dollar had. And it all started back in kind of the gold confiscation back in 1933. They took gold and they revalued gold to $35 an ounce, or $35 for those $20 gold pieces instead of the $20, and pretty much doubled the money supply in a one swift move. So yeah, and from that point forward, it just became worse and worse to hold the dollar. You start losing power consistently over the decades, and now we're seeing kind of its uglier side of the face of having that dollar, and seeing gold beginning last year, gold was less than $2,000. We've more than doubled in just 19, 20 months. It's gone that crazy that gold has moved itself up in a position where it shows the falling out of the dollar with the rest of the world and with investors here in the U.S. as well. It's going to turn into a hot potato, and that's a dangerous point when we start to see the dollar become a hot potato.
We're seeing it now because people are just kind of starting to realize that, man, things are not getting better under Trump. Trump basically ran around, I think, a month or two ago, and he said, hey, you know what? You're going to see gas below $2 a gallon. It's going to be incredible. And I just went to the pump last night. I don't have it like anybody to fill my tank. I have to do it myself. You know what I mean? Anyway, cost $3.20. I don't see it going down a whole lot, maybe a teeny bit, but for the most part, it's not even close to $2 a gallon.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. The promises are hard to keep. I'm still waiting for the promise that he said he was going to put Hillary Clinton in jail, but there's a lot of promises that are made and across the board with politicians that just never come to fruition. And my grandma used to tell me when I was little, in regards to someone who said they were going to do something and probably weren't. She just said, hey, just don't hold your breath. Reality is going to show what it really is, but don't hold your breath in the meantime. So I'm kind of in that scenario. Like, I'm not holding my breath to see Trump pull us out of this because I don't think he has the means and capability to do it. We're too far down the road. We've kicked this can too far with our debt and everything else. You're going to have to change the entire system and allow the previous one to be broken completely in order to really do anything that would have a real effect. And I'm not a fan of swapping systems in the middle of pain, because that's when you people will give up anything in the middle of pain for the relief of pain.
Yeah,
So,
unless you want to offer a jubilee and then talk about switching systems. But I think we just need to go back to the original system the founding fathers put in place, and that's really where when the dollar starts to do even worse to the point where they feel like something else needs to be done. We, the people, need to be educated enough when they try to go to a digital dollar or they try to go to a manipulatable currency or a fiat. I don't know what you want to call it, digital currency or your crypto, whatever term I don't even know how to term it, because it's, if the government controls it, is it cryptocurrency, is it blockchain, is it, there's so many parameters, words, but understand, folks, it's all fake money. And so we, the people, need to be educated enough when they try to go to a fake money system that we just say, no, we're not doing that. And if you try to move us towards that, we're literally going to fire all of you. We need to go back to an honest money, constitutional-based system. Instead of a debt-based system, we need an asset-based system. And really, the telltale is going to be how educated the American people are when this comes.
Yeah. We've been riding on debt for so long, and we need to understand that type of society always experiences great pain in the end, and the change is never in their favor, versus an economy that saves, and they can weather these storms. We don't have the means to weather these storms. And it seems like this storm just continues to build and build and build. And once it's let go, it's not going to be a fun experience for a lot of people. We have to address the debts, and all nations have to address the debts. But we're also, you'd have to address the central bankers at that point. And I don't think we collectively have such a short attention span. I don't think we could put together a long-term fight against, the central bank system. We get so distracted with, what's, this politician doing now? What's that person doing now? We just watch the news, and, it's new. What's the new thing that we need to, be upset about versus, no, I need to find one thing that will solve the majority of these problems. We focus on that one thing and resolve it. We jump from issue to issue too quickly. And we never really put the time into one issue that will actually resolve it.
So Congress bought till January, the end of January. They say they'll keep government open. Then they're going to have a big old, the Democrats are saying, hey, if you guys don't bring up spending $1 bazillion on Obamacare and, kind of open that up again, then we're going to boycott. And you think we're going to just have a shutdown at the end of January again?
Yeah, I think crises are their MO for change, and so they don't. I mean, you've heard politicians say you don't let a good crisis go to waste. They like those. It allows them to do things they wouldn't be able to do otherwise. I mean, take for instance Bush Sr. Bush Sr. tried to pass what was considered the Patriot Act back in his day, and only got like in the teens percentage of approval. As soon as we have 9/11, and on the emotion of the entire U.S., Bush W steps in and passes the Patriot Act, which we would have never done, and we never had that kind of support for it unless we were an emotional wreck, and we were. So, yeah, good crisis.
Well, a lot of times, too, I think when it's the Democrats, people push back a lot. When it's the Republicans, people are like, oh, it must be okay because the conservatives are for this. And, we get kind of deceived on that side of the equation, too, right?
Oh, yeah. Patriot Act has done nothing but, lock down more and more and surveillance more of our own citizens. Had nothing to do with, protecting us as much as it did, being able to spy on us legally. Yeah, I mean, Bush Sr. never could have passed that bill. But you get 9/11 and you get almost a unanimous vote. There was only 2 people that voted against it. I know Ron Paul was one, and I can't remember the other guy. But
you get a deceived people that are scrambling to do something to look good. Mm-hmm. They don't realize the mistakes they're making. All right, you've heard the term "a penny for your thoughts," right?
Yes.
Well, that term's now going to be dead, my friend. The penny,
yes,
dead,
going away
at 232 years old, my friend.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I would hang on to all your pennies that are 1981 and previous because they were all copper, and they're worth about 3.5 cents just in the copper value. So penny's still going to be worth something. It's just you're not going to see any new ones made.
Yeah, and so now what are you got to do? Just round everything to the nearest nickel?
Yeah, that's what we're already anticipating here in the shop.
How much does it cost to make a nickel anyway?
It's like 11, 12 cents. So it's not even economical to make a nickel. I mean, the dime is where we should be at. We should get rid of the nickel and the penny if we're looking at the cost to make it. But if we rounded everything up to the dime, it'd be fine. But I'm already anticipating if the pennies, because I constantly am getting pennies and people will continue to hold on to their pennies. But if the banks can't produce pennies, I'm just going to the nickel. So we'll just round everything up. Well, round everything up to the next 5 cent or 10 cent.
Why would we create nickels if they cost more money to create than they do to have and spend and everything else? It seems like a big value loss, right?
Yeah, I mean, they used to be less to produce, but now they're more because our dollar is just losing value. So we're not using sound money to then create our new form of money. We're using unsound money to create the new stuff, so it's just losing value. That's why the price is going up. So it doesn't make any sense. It hasn't made any sense, and so I guess just tradition, is why they're keeping around. There's not much in the government that actually is financially responsible. Very little, and so this is just another one of those areas.
Yeah, it's like the uncle that says, "Hey, kid, I got a shiny nickel for you," and the kid's like, "Can I have a rusty dime?" Right?
Yeah. Yep.
All right. What do you got? What's the best buy for people right now in gold and silver? What thing would you say? You know what? Right now is a killer deal.
Right now, I would say the best thing we still have some 15% below melt on wartime nickels, 5% below melt on 90%. 90% is a little bit different right now due to refiners being backed up in it. It'll come back, but due to that, we're just selling it for less because we are picking it up, and we suggest not selling it, but 90% is a great way of going. Then also in gold, Kruger Rands. Kruger Rands are the most consistent, lowest.
Kruger Rands. There you have it, ladies and gentlemen. Heath Perkins, thank you so much, sir. We're out of time. freewatercoinco.com. You can visit them in person if you're in Utah, or they can ship. So be ready. freewatercoinco.com. Thank you, Heath. I'm Sam Bushman. This is Indeed Liberty. RoundTable Live. God save the Republic of the United States of America.